What up? What up? What up? It's the crew. The SRT crew. We're live. Yes, we in the building. We are in our virtual studios. Glad y'all can be along with us. We're in our virtual studios. Would say overlooking Atlantic Station, but we not in Atlantic Station. We are. Let's just say we just virtual. That's all I can say. We just virtual. And I'm your main man Ho from Bankhead. My main man Hancock, the sports superhero, is in the building. What's going on, Han?
What's up, big homie? How you doing, brother?
Man, all is well. All is well.
That's
Got
what's
some
up.
news to share with you in a minute.
Okay.
I'm
Mother, I
gonna
know it's some good news if you bringing it up like
yeah,
that.
yeah. I got to bring it to you, bro. I got to bring it to you.
That's what's up. Must have been a good week then.
Well, always a good week, and there go my
There
guy.
he is,
There go my guy.
straight
Yeah,
from the
got
What
gump.
it
what's going
what
on,
it
Weezy?
do?
What's
What's
up with
going
you?
on, bro? Yes, sir, man. Thank y'all, and welcome to Sports Roundtable with the SRT crew. I'm Ho from Bankhead. As you can see, the sports superhero, D. Will, the coach. Yes, sir. And D. Will, I will have to say this real quick. I think Nick Saban made his point.
I would have to agree with you.
I think Nick Saban made his point, and we gonna get into some college football as we jump into. Well, we might as well go ahead and jump into it. It's time to jump into some hot news. Yes, sir. The hot news sponsored by our good old friends, Big Easy Grill, 1193 Collier Road, Atlanta, Georgia. Big Easy Grill, the best Louisiana seafood spot in town. And yeah, man, you can get all the shrimp you want. Takes 2 bites to get rid of 1 shrimp, and when I tell you they are the bomb. And as D. Will says, he love to get them crab claws when he goes. So crab claws it is, and the shrimp it is for me. So make sure you get on over to the Big Easy Grill, 1193 Collier Road. Make sure you mention SRT or Sports Roundtable. When the bill comes, any meal is $25 or more, you get 10% off. All right, man. We got to do a roll call. See Dez in the building. What's up, Dez?
Tenants.
Yes, sir. The tenants are in the building, man. We got Bob coming up around 7:45, man. We got to talk Braves baseball as the Braves would not play their first game until Saturday.
You worried about that, ain't it?
I got to see what he say about Freed. I'm trying to figure out who go make the first start. I think they gonna go with Strider and then Freed. But I don't know who that third starter would be. Will it be Elder? Because he's been struggling. Or will one of those guys come off the bench and do that? All right, man, we're going to jump into our hot news. And our hot news are sponsored again by the Big Easy Grill. D. Will, I got to start you off. Did Shedeur Sanders live up to the hype versus USC as Colorado took a loss? What was it, 47-41, or was it 48-41, something like that? But he was up against the Heisman favorite and the Heisman of last year, and after a blowout loss to Oregon, did Shedeur Sanders live up to the hype as a first-round quarterback to you, or a top 10 quarterback?
I don't see when it ever fell off. Like he lost 1 game. Like he lost the game. Did they expect him to throw for 500 yards and never lose a football game? Right. So I think the expectations that were placed on him due to the early success that he and Colorado had, it was some lofty expectations. Right. And yeah, he didn't play particularly well against Oregon, but he didn't have a bad game. His offensive line couldn't hold up. So we weren't able to see Shedeur be who we've seen him be in those first 3 games. However, against USC coming back, I said this in the beginning of the season, USC running around with 185-pound linebackers. Of course he was going to pick them apart. That's little boy football. So that offensive line was able to stand up against USC, give him a few seconds to throw the ball. And we all know if Shedeur gets time to throw the football, he's one of the best passers of the football in the country, bar none, hands down. So with that being said, I don't think he ever fell off. I think he just showed more of who he is, and he showed that he's more than capable of being in the conversation of who's the best quarterback in the country between him, Caleb Williams, and a few others.
All right, Han, your thoughts on Shedeur's performance against USC when a lot of people thought it would possibly be a repeat of what we saw against Oregon, but Deion Sanders in Colorado had some had people surprised as they had a whole host of celebrities that was there at the game each and every week. Colorado is breaking TV rating records each and every week. Every time they're on TV, they're breaking records. So in front of a big stage, Han, tell me your thoughts on how Shedeur Sanders stood up in this big stage.
Yeah, Shedeur has not disappointed at all. We've talked about the poise, the accuracy, his just collectiveness as a quarterback. And we wanted to see that on the major college level. Like we kept saying, he was playing HBCU football, which, in itself gets a bad rap, because we see other quarterbacks come from smaller divisions and they don't get the same kind of criticism or whatever. But he's translated well or transferred his play from the HBCU into major college football with flying colors. I haven't seen anything that detracts from him. I thought actually he's made himself into a first round talent. He's recognized now as a first round talent that I don't think he'd have been classified that had he stayed at Jackson State, which I think is a subplot for why Deion did make this jump. Let's be real, to get the exposure for his son. Without this, no, he wouldn't be touted by Colin Cowherd. He wouldn't be, Cowherd sings his praises every broadcast, saying that, he's one of the top quarterbacks right now. If he comes out, he's top 2 or 3 coming out in the draft right now. Only really Caleb Williams he sees as a clear-cut favorite over him. So I don't see anything that's disappointed me or made me wary of him playing at the next level. But it doesn't matter because Deion's already told you he's not coming out anyway. From what I understand, him staying in school next year, he'll make in upwards close to $10 million as a quarterback in college, which won't be much from what he's making as a draft pick in the NFL. So it's nothing. He's not in a hurry to come out anyway, so it doesn't matter. And by everything else I'm hearing, Caleb Williams is telling everyone if it's not the right team picking him, guess what? He's going to stay too because he's going to make the same kind of money. So it's the first time we've seen the athletes with the power. They have the decision, besides what we saw with Archie Manning saying that Peyton wasn't going to play here, or Elway, his father, saying, well, if this team takes him, we're not going. So, they had a little leverage just because of the names and the stature they had. But these guys have money behind them. They have a lot of money that they don't have to worry about getting, taking care of their families or whatever. They're already well off. So anyway, back to your original question. Yeah, he's done nothing but exceed expectations in my eyes.
D. Will, speaking of NIL, and I wanted to say this question for you, particularly, is there any phrase that says you can make too much in their NIL money or be valued at too much? Does it take away from your hunger to go to the pros because you're making so much money in college?
Not at all, not whatsoever. Because if that's the case, every pro, as soon as they get a check, they'll fall off too, right? Like so I don't see what is any different from a college athlete who's out there being able to capitalize off their name, image, and likeness. And if they're popular enough to garner, say, $10 million a year, why would I fall off? That's gonna increase my hunger. If, in my opinion, that increases the hunger for players to go get a bag. If I'm getting $10 million in college and Daniel Jones getting $40 million in the NFL, oh boy, let me go. Let's go. If Daniel Jones can get 40, I can get 60. Right. So that's their mindset. So I don't think the NIL is an issue. To be God honest with you, I don't know of any NIL casualties. Now they're out there. However, I'm talking about major casualty in college football or basketball where someone's career was ruined due to the NIL. We hadn't heard that story. And there's
Right.
plenty of horror stories out there that I know about, but there's no horror story of this kid supposedly getting this much money or something happened detrimental. None of that is happening. If anything, especially with college football, it's made more parity, right? It's caused more parity throughout college football because guys are able to go a lot of other places and still get a bag. So, yeah, I don't see NIL being an issue whatsoever with these players having a desire or a hunger to get more money.
All right. So last week, I know you had to take care of the wife, and I hope Harlan is all right. But last week we talked about how college football is trending to where Hancock has called it the super senior. All these 6-year seniors coming back and staying in school, and you see Sam Hartman at Notre Dame. You saw
Penix at Washington,
Penix at Washington. What's the Georgia
Nix at
quarterback from
Oregon,
last year?
Nix
He
at
was
Oregon, those types. Yeah.
Bo Nix and Stetson Bennett from last year at Georgia. He was 25 when he had finally graduated. So how do you see? Do you buy into the super senior kind of being the trend of college football right now today? As far
And
as
they
the
need to
quarterback,
take their ass on somewhere. I'm just going to be honest. They need to leave college football, college athletics. Like the story just came out of the guy that's going to be at Cal this year. Yeah, he might be at Hartford. So I don't know where he is. He's been to so many schools, but he's in his 8th year of college basketball. He's 26 years old. He got 3 medical red shirts. Bro, at some point you got to go. And my thing is these super seniors who, and I agree with Hancock, there are super seniors, right? However, a lot of these super seniors aren't really good. Now, you can get Penix Jr., you can take Bo Nix, but all of them just benefited from the 1 year of the COVID, right? So, because Bo Nix would have been a senior last year. He's 1 year over of what he should have been playing in college football. So, but these guys that are in here 6 and 7 years that are 25, 26, 27 years old, still playing college football, it's a reason they hadn't gone to the pros, right? It's a reason they're not there. Usually back in the day, you would see this because somebody went and served in the military, right? Or somebody went to Utah and they went on a Mormon trip, right? That's the reason they're older guys playing the sport. However, now, man, I'm just going to sit here and be completely honest with you. It makes absolutely no sense for those guys to be playing college football at those older ages. I'm sick of them and I don't like to see it. I think it's an unfair disadvantage for some guy that's 26 years old, been removed 6 or 7 years from high school, still playing college football or basketball.
Didn't we see what school was that when they got all these transfer seniors and was it USC Oregon with all these transfer seniors? It's like the whole team was playing against grown men again. I guess what Colorado got basically super freshmen and all these young guys playing against 26 and 25-year-old grown men playing in college. I think you might be right, D Will, as far as the unfair advantage when it comes to that. When it comes to that is especially when shouldn't it be a limit of on how many you can have on the team as far as
Hey, listen, I like that, Big Ho. You said should it be a limit on NIL in the last question? No limit on the NIL. You can't tell me how much money I can make, right? I should be allowed to make how much I can make. However, it should be a limit how long I can be in college football and basketball.
Yeah, I agree.
I think
I
that.
mean, they just taking advantage of the COVID year, and I think these schools like Sam Hartman at Notre Dame. I mean, he basically graduated. He went 4 years at Wake Forest, and then went over to Notre Dame. I mean, let's be real. You talking about a rookie NFL quarterback basically staying in school because of I can make more money in college than I can on my rookie deal in the NFL. Plus,
Mm.
he's not going to get drafted high based on him coming out of Wake Forest. I mean, let's look at Stetson Bennett. If Stetson Bennett doesn't go to back-to-back and win back-to-back national championship, he don't get drafted at all. But he's 25. He was 25 years old. Think about it. Who was that the kid that played against it was Bo Nix, played against Justin Herbert 4 years ago in college. How many years has Bo Nix been in college? I mean, it's like he's been there forever.
Don't do Bo Nix like that, man.
It's just a wave of what it is right now. I understand what you guys are saying. I do see that you are circumventing the system and you are, finding a way to, I guess, prolong your career. But like you said, Justin Bennett wouldn't be wouldn't be an NFL football player had he not stayed at Georgia and won there. And we wouldn't be considering Notre Dame Hartman to even be a big time quarterback had he not been at a high profile school like Notre Dame. Now that puts him in the limelight, and he'll have that opportunity. He had a big game this past weekend with Duke. Believe it or not, Duke was undefeated after they beat Clemson. Then he had a big high profile game with Ohio State when they should have beaten them. So those two things have put him over the top. Think about Mike, and I use Michael Penix, and I'm using one more time. This guy wouldn't be a first round pick had he stayed at Indiana.
Yeah.
It just wasn't there. But now you look at the arm talent, the way he's throwing the football out there, he's not going to drop past 5. Honestly, he is. Right. And if you watch them play, some of the passes this dude throw, his arm is ridiculous, and that's the truth. And he can flat foot sling it. And I didn't see, he was more of an athlete at Indiana when I watched him. So to see him do this and really transform his game, it took him longer, but what we see all the time. These people reclassify all the time at lower levels. So basically it's the same thing. They're playing, older kids or older guys playing against younger talent and maturing, and now they're able to play. And it's accelerating their stock, making them go up. So, it is what it is. I think it'll have a ceiling. But D, with you being on the basketball level right now, how is this hindering kids from getting these D1 scholarships when the NIL, these guys are transferring, or the schools are using these scholarships to bring in people that are already college athletes and bring them in? I know there's a lot of high school kids now that are not getting those D1 offers because they're not there. They're drying up. So I'm sure it's a down effect.
It is absolutely horrible, especially on the basketball side. Like Division I schools only get 13 scholarships in Division I basketball, right? 13 flat rate. You can't get any more, can't get any less. That's how many you're going to have. Now you got to understand, let's just say typically you're going to have 6 to 7 returners, right? So that means you have approximately 7 scholarships to fill on any given year, right? And I'm lowballing the 6. You might have 8 or 9 returners, right? So you might have 3 or 4 scholarships. One of those may go to a high school kid, because I just had a conversation with a college coach the other day, a Division II coach, and he says, we're trying to get as old as possible. We're trying to be old. So I'm not going to get a high school freshman. I will recruit 1 high school freshman per year. Not sign, but recruit. So it is utterly impossible for these kids to get. They got to go alternative routes to get onto the Division I level. It's gonna take a journey. It's no more. Now, listen, don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about the top 150, right? I'm not. Same thing for college football. I'm not talking about the top 300. Those guys are going to have opportunities each and every year. I'm talking about number 400, right? I'm talking in basketball. I'm talking about a 2-star kid in basketball who would usually be a guy that's the 13th player on the Division I roster that they would develop over 4 years. You're not getting that opportunity. So it's really bad, and it's going to get worse.
Yeah. So Hancock, I want to ask you this. I need you to rank the the top 4 college quarterbacks right now: Caleb Williams, Shedeur Sanders, Drake May, and Michael Penix Jr. Can you rank those in order?
Yeah, I've watched them this year. I've watched all the ones you talked about, and honestly, Caleb to me is the clear cut one. I give him that.
Okay.
I kind of vacillate back and forth between Penix and what I've seen in Shador.
Yeah.
Um,
What was
Penix
that?
is
What
playing
was that? What was that SAT word you used?
vacillate. I'm going back and forth there. But when you when you look at that, thinking of what I see, Penix has more talent. I guess he's been in that system longer, and you see what he does with his weapons. He knows his team better. So, you have to also caveat that with his offensive line. Shador's playing with guys up there that won't be on the program. Most of them won't be blocking for him next year or anywhere in Colorado. He's going to bring in new guys. And so with that, I would have to give Penix the edge in that respect.
Okay.
You mentioned, so I would slide Shador to 3. I would put Penix 2. And who's the other one? You Drake May?
Drake May.
May, I'm just not enamored with May, to be honest with you. I'm not. He's, to me, I'm looking at just a quarterback that's gonna be, he's gonna get drafted. He's gonna be somebody that they think can lead a team, but Sam Darnold, those type of players, that's all I see. I don't see anything special, honestly. He has the name and all of that and whatever, but I don't see the game that everybody talks about.
Hey, could you compare? I see Marlon compared him to Trubisky, but what about a good comparison is the kid out of Kentucky from last year?
Exactly.
What's
his name? Yeah, I know you're talking about. Yeah, him too. All of them in the same cookie cutter quarterbacks that are these prototypical, big, strong. They can do all this. I don't see it. They don't impress me, honestly. And Klubnik at Clemson gonna be the same way. They put him and talk about him. Don't see it.
Yeah.
I like Bo Nix more than I like Drake May.
Exactly. But see, Bo Nix is going out there to the West Coast and playing more of a freestyle, playing football. Drake May does not impress me. So if you're gonna ask me about him, he's 4 to me.
All right, so we're gonna turn the page, and I got a question of the day, and I'm gonna make it a question of the day. Will Georgia three-peat, or you taking the field? Based on what we know of, we don't watch college football for 5 weeks now. This week number 6 coming up. From the 5th week, from the 5 weeks that we watch college football, are you taking Georgia to three-peat, or are you taking the field? D. Will, I'm gonna start with you.
I'm not even taking Georgia to make the college football playoff. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. Georgia is going to slip up, right? That showing that they had this past weekend against Auburn, it didn't show that Georgia's vulnerable. It showed what we thought Georgia was all season long. They have struggled all season long. Georgia has not looked like a top 4 team all season long. I don't care. Show me a game where Georgia looked like the best team in the country. Name one game out of the first 5 where Georgia looked as if they were the dominant number 1 team in the country. I can name several teams, at least 5, that have looked better than Georgia this year. And I'm going to go a little bit further, y'all. Listen, I'm going to go out there on the limb. I'm going to say it's a 65% chance. So better than 50%, much better than 50% chance that no team out of the SEC makes the college football playoff this season.
Hancock said it last week. I was vacillating, as Hancock said, that for you to hear what he said, he picked, I say, as of right now, give me your top 4 teams to make the playoff. And Hank, go ahead and repeat what you told me.
I had Washington, Texas, Michigan, and it wasn't Ohio State. It was someone else I thought who I had in there. Can't remember what 4 I had last week, but it was no SEC team because you asked about it.
I think it was USC.
I don't think it was SC because I don't think it was. I'm not impressed with their defense. The offensive side of the ball, yes, they can compete with anybody in the country. but defensively they just don't have enough. I don't think they're not there. They're not going to get there.
And I listen, as good as everybody's saying the Pac-12 is, it's going to be tough for them to get 2 teams in the playoff this year. Right? It's going to be real tough. But like I say, I'm just not trusting Georgia, bro. Like they hadn't shown me any dominance. We're used to Alabama and Georgia not winning games. We're used to them dominating games. And neither one of those 2 teams, who are the top 2 teams in the SEC, especially now with the fall off of LSU, those 2 teams don't look as if they made it to the college football playoff, that they would make any noise versus a Michigan or Washington or Oregon or USC. Those teams can score so many points and put so much pressure on your defense. It makes your offense have to score. And neither one of those offenses have shown that they're adequate enough to put up a bunch of points and win games on the offensive end of the football. So that's why I say it's going to be tough for Georgia. But no, I do not see them as the best team in the country.
Yeah, their schedule has benefited them mightily. And the coming in off of 2 undefeated seasons is really the buffer that they have, or what sets them up there and says, okay, I'm the champ till you knock me off.
Right.
But what I see in Georgia is that the second and third teams aren't there like they have been the past few years. And the quarterback situation, we talked a lot about old Thurston Howard the third or whatever, but he knew the system. And he was athletic enough to where when things broke down, he could make a play to get a first down to keep that drive alive. Mm-hmm. I'm not enamored with this quarterback at all. I don't see him doing anything special. They did turn it up late. They have a tight end that's otherworldly. He is nice. When we talk about Bowers, he is legit. Yeah. And he basically won the game Saturday. He was uncoverable Saturday. He just went off in the second half and they got the ball to him. But I think if you take him out of the game with a decent defense and put everything on that quarterback. What is the quarterback's name? I don't even know his name.
Carson Beck.
Yeah, Beck. If you put everything on his shoulders, he's going to crumble. I don't see it. I don't see him making plays to keep drives alive. I don't see him coming up with a big drive needed in the fourth quarter or something of that nature. And they're going to face that when they get to competition. Auburn had them pretty much
dead to rights. Dead to rights, bro.
They let them off the hook. They sure did.
Yeah,
that's because they're Auburn dummies.
Yeah, all right. I'm gonna have to ask you: you taking Georgia or you taking the field? The 3-peat. You taking Georgia?
I'm taking the field. No doubt about it. I think Georgia. I think they have a pure path right to the SEC title game. Nothing's over. I don't see anything stopping them from that. And they'll make the 4 probably because of that, but I don't see them advancing that. I think they'll get in just purely because of schedule, unless, somebody like Bama. I think Bama's defense can do something.
That thing's stepping up. It's stepping up.
The defense steps up and they are able to, run the ball and keep it close to the vest, keep it a close game. They could possibly beat Georgia, honestly.
Now, I'm gonna tell you like this, Han. I'm gonna go this far. Now, if it was head to head right now, I would take Alabama over Georgia because of the big playability of Alabama's offense. Not saying it's good, but Jalen Milroe's ability to throw the ball down the field and put pressure. And you see those wide receivers for Alabama starting to step up and catch balls, right? They're starting to get open. They weren't getting open earlier in the season. And I just think Alabama's defense is head over heels better than Georgia's. Georgia has a really good defense. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm seeing from Alabama and now from those bookends, Dallas Turner and those guys who are really starting to step up now, I see them now. With me saying that, Alabama still has to go to Texas A&M. They still got to go to Auburn. They still got LSU on the schedule. Like they still got Tennessee. They still have a juggernaut of a schedule to go to even get to, because they can't afford to lose another game. If Alabama loses another game, say they lose to a Tennessee and it's in the East, however, that's still, and they win all Western Conference games, and they still win the West and get to the SEC championship game and beat Georgia with 2 losses, they won't get in. And now we don't have any SEC teams left inside the college football playoff. So, like I say, right now I would take Alabama over Georgia. However, neither one of those teams look extremely impressive to me.
Yeah, and I saw a comment in the post right here about Beck putting it on his shoulders. Maybe to an extent he did step up. I can't knock his stats. He was 313, 23 for 33 or whatever like that. One touchdown, one interception. But what I mean, when you take his weapon away, when you play a team that won't, I think, kind of cater to you and allow you to come back as easily, to me, they put it together in the second half and went in overdrive. Maybe that's due to maybe the maturity. Maybe they stepped up and played. But I don't see it out of Beck, and we'll see what happens with that. I just don't.
And I agree with you, Han, because I trust, not saying much, but I trust Milroe more than I trust Beck. Right? Milroe showed the ability to get it down the field and get guys open. I'm not saying Beck has good numbers, but if you watch that Auburn game on Saturday, bro, Carson Beck was not very good. Right? Like, he was not. If you want to keep it 1,000, that boy at tight end was really good. He was always open, right? So if you want to look at Carson Beck numbers, you got to look at that boy at tight end, which is a top 10 player coming out of tight end, which we don't see since we saw your boy that went to your Falcons. Since we seen that. However, yes, but man, with a weapon like that, if somebody comes in and takes away,
exactly.
We're gonna bracket him. We're gonna run 3 under. We're gonna put one on top, one underneath him, and we're gonna make Carson Beck throw it to somebody else to beat us. Can he do that? I don't see that being able to happen.
You're saying what I mean. Bowers had 157 yards on 8 catches. You can't
in the second half.
Yeah, and so you can't tell me what are you doing as a defense when you know that's where you go with the football. You gotta go with him out the huddle. I didn't understand.
How many missed tackles?
Well, he causes a few of them. He's a bad boy.
Yeah,
you got to give him his props.
Right.
That was his. He is that dude.
He's one of the greatest college tight ends we've seen in a very long time.
He's nice.
So is Georgia gonna have a problem with Kentucky this weekend?
Yes, I think they're gonna lose.
Ooh. Where is that game?
In Athens.
Still think they're gonna lose.
Okay.
Yeah, Kentucky is a mirror image of what Georgia does. They play defense, they run the ball, they'll throw the ball on play action and things of that nature. So you got two teams that are mirror images of each other, and Kentucky got a running back.
Ooh, yes, they do. What, he went for 250 last week?
Yeah, he went for
280.
He went for
he's still running.
Yeah, he went for 2.
He's still running.
I think his name is Ray Davis.
Yes.
And he's 4th in the nation in rushing right now, as far as running back. So, but yeah, I think Georgia got a tough task. They say they thought South Carolina would be a tough task. They thought Auburn would be a tough task. This would be a tough
Auburn
task.
was a tough task. Auburn was a tough. They got out of there by the hairs on the chin. And I'm gonna tell you like this: they better be doggone happy that time hadn't changed and the sun didn't settle inside Jordan-Hare. Because if that sun would have set and they would have had to play under the lights in Jordan-Hare, they wasn't winning that football game.
All right, real quick, D. Will, before we turn this page, who is the best college football team you got right now today?
Michigan.
Okay.
Michigan. That running game and J.J. McCarthy, they're throwing for 250 and running for 250 per game. That is one of the most balanced teams in the country. And now with John Harbaugh back, I'm telling you, I think that's the number 1 team in the country right now. And y'all know I'm not a Michigan fan. I don't like them at all. Never have been, never will. But however, what I've seen through the first 5 weeks, just the balance that they display on the offensive end and their ability to beat you a bunch of different ways, I like Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan's up there. The only thing that keeps me from saying Washington is because they play in that Pac-12, and it's just
too soft, man. They're too soft.
That's the only thing. I'm real impressed with them. It's between them and Michigan to me, and I was
Washington praises for the last.
Yeah, I watch them late every week. I watch them, and dude, they're They are fast. They get the ball out. They got receivers. They got running back. They got a decent defense that's fast. They get to the ball, but they haven't played a physical team yet. So and that's what it's going to be if they play Michigan. Michigan, you got to come and you better bring your lunch pail because they're going to beat you
Yes,
up.
sir.
And that's the thing. I agree with that. If you play football and not this, 707 type football that they play out west, if it gets down to football, I gotta lean Michigan a little bit because, like you said, D, they haven't even stepped on the gas. They're beating people and they're just winning games. You can see, and they coast the rest of the way. Third quarter on, they're pretty much coasting. So I want to see them have to play somebody. That last game, no matter what the record is between them and Ohio State, is going to be a fierce game. So to me, that's really the only game on their schedule this year. So I think we'll have a lot and we'll know a lot more when they play. But right now, I'll say Michigan.
All right, who wins between USC and Washington in the Pac-12 championship game?
I think.
Hey, can I answer Marlon question first? Can we answer Marlon question first?
Yeah, go ahead.
It depends. If the narrative comes out for Georgia and they beat Kentucky this upcoming weekend, but they look the way they looked against Auburn this past weekend, and they don't show any improvement as if being one of those dominant teams, say they come out with a 1 point, 3 point last second walk-off field goal win, and it's a game where they didn't play very well, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be the same narrative. If they want to change the narrative for Georgia, it's not about them winning games. It's about how you win games. And they're not looking very good in their wins because we all know their schedule is weak. Even though Kentucky is an undefeated team, are we really sitting here saying Kentucky is a juggernaut in the SEC? Like, come on. Like, saying I'm a beat my chest for beating Kentucky, a team you should beat by 3 touchdowns on any given year, is not saying much. So I'm saying the narrative is not going to change if they don't change the way they look in these wins.
And I to piggyback on what you're saying, the 2 wins that we've seen the last few weeks, South Carolina, they had a struggle. They were down in that game. They had to mount a comeback to beat them. Auburn, the same thing. So we haven't seen them put a complete game together. And the schedule hadn't been tough. So that's why I kind of got, I'm in that quarter. I just haven't seen enough from Georgia to say that this team that's going to take it all the way. Because, now, coming off of that game, they had to get up and play. Now, can they get it up again in this week? Because is Kentucky going to be on their radar now? Because Kentucky came off of this high-profile running back running for 280. Will they have something to prove this weekend? So I want to see a complete game. That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
When you are this done, you need to see a complete football game. Yeah, I will change my views on it. If they come out and dominate and do what they need to do against Kentucky, okay. I tip my hat and say, okay, I was wrong. But I haven't seen a complete game. And I haven't seen, to me, Beck look impressive. He has not to me. And we'll see. It remains to be seen.
All right. Real quick, because I got Bob in the backstage back here waiting on us to do the Braves report. But before we get to the Braves report, I got to ask, is it that we have bad coaching in the NFL now or just bad play calling from all these offensive gurus or whatever the case may be? Let me give you a breakdown. Let me set this up. Sean Payton looking real bad in Denver. Bill Belichick, has a losing record since Brady has left the Patriots. Brandon Stokely, every week his job is on the line, it seems like. This offensive guru of, and it's just the hometown Atlanta Falcons, he's supposed to be this offensive guru, this genius play caller that's making, and everybody blaming Desmond Ritter, but you only putting Desmond Ritter in situations that's making him look bad. So is it bad coaching or just bad play calling? And I'm going to start with you on that.
Desmond Ritter is not an NFL starting quarterback. I said that, and I said it when they drafted him. I didn't understand it. I think it's a reach for him to be the starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, and I'll stand by that. I just don't see it. As far as when we talk about what Peyton is doing in Denver, I think a lot of it is looked upon as them not being offense and not playing. The offense really hadn't been as bad. Their defense is horrible. That's the problem in up there. And his personnel, he's going to have to get in the right personnel. He's taking a lot of slings and arrows because, as an analyst, he was very critical of the prior regime that was there. He talked about the head coach and how he came in and really, was kind of derogatory when you talked about even Russell's situation, about Russell having offices and being not really a part of the team and all that. So a lot of the stuff that he's reaping now is because of his own doing and how he came in and how he was so brash or whatever and brazen, with his comments. So I think that when you look at Denver, the offensive side, to me, is not that far off. I think Russ right now is rated like the 8th best quarterback or something like that in the NFL. So it's not. I think Russ's the Russ's persona makes him look like he's playing bad right now when he's not really playing that bad right now. But when you look at the whole organization, it's going to take a while, I think, for him to get it back on point. Now, as far as these other gurus, you talking about the Chargers?
Yeah, Brandon Staley. Yeah. I said,
look, man, they're scoring points, but he makes stupid calls constantly. He does stupid go for it here, whatever. They're putting up points. They lost one of the top receivers, and they came in. They could still score points. The quarterback, for whatever said 2 weeks ago, he's 40 for 47. He missed 7 passes,
right?
7, and threw for almost over 400 yards. The offense is there. They don't even have their starting running back. Lost the best number 2 receiver, Mike Williams, and they can still put up points. It's him with his decision making. It's his offensive side. He just needs to be probably an offensive coordinator because they can do that. But it's something with being a head coach. You got to have the mentality, and you got to have your team has to be tight. They got to be unified. They got to be on the string. They got to know what you're doing and support one another. And their defense right now is atrocious. As far as Belichick, this is the last thing I'm going to say about Belichick and move on. Belichick made the biggest mistake by last year going with defense coordinator for his offensive coordinator. He retarded the progress of his quarterback by not having an OC last year. That was the worst thing he could have did. And they're right now. I was hearing Swagoo and they were talking about it today, and they made this point. They said that they're playing like they're still in the early 2000s and late 19. You look at their offense. They playing 2 tight end sets. Nothing is wide open. They're just you're not lining up and worried about anybody on their defense, on their offense beating you deep. Nothing's there. So it's on him. His personnel decisions and his coaching decisions are horrible right now.
Okay. All right, D. Will. Bad coaching or bad play calling? Or is it both?
I think those are the same thing, if you ask me. Because for what we just named,
and let's not forget about what's going on in Chicago now.
Oh, they're killing that. They're killing that.
That's a dumpster fire. Yeah, but just to, I'm gonna make it quick. Just to start off with New England, we all know about the sophomore slump. Mac Jones didn't have a sophomore slump. He had an induced sophomore slump. They made him slump that year. And let's be honest, if you look at him right now, just like Han said, with these offensive sets that they're running from the late 1990s, where it, like you say, 2 tight end sets in one back, and they're telling Mac Jones he can't throw the ball over 10 yards down the field, like that's the issue. Like they're stunting his growth and stunting his confidence to the point where he can go out there and win them football games. But we all know Brandon Staley, he should have been fired a long time ago. Let's just keep it 1,000. And if you don't want to fire him because of the points that Han just made, that they're able to score points, it's not that they're calling bad plays. It's just him making bonehead decisions in critical times, right? Like that needs to be, hey, I'm going to demote you to offensive coordinator. I'm going to bring somebody else in that's going to be able to run the ship, because I've never been a Justin Herbert fan. Y'all know that. It's not like I've ever been enamored by Justin Herbert. So I'm not going to sit here and act like I am right now. However, I do believe he's a really good thrower of the football. It's not a throw on the field that he can't make. Okay. So with that being said, his potential is there. However, if you don't surround him with somebody who can advance him, it's going to be is what it is. And like I say, Justin Fields showed last week with Chicago that it's not Justin Fields. If you watch that Denver and Chicago game, it wasn't Justin Fields' fault, right? It wasn't their fault. Now he had the critical turnover in the end. However, that could be play calling. That could be putting him in a situation to fail. Yeah, and guess what? He failed. So I'm going to say, it's not his fault. A lot of these quarterbacks that we're talking about, like a Mac Jones, like a Justin Herbert, like a Justin Fields, it's not really their fault, right? It's not their fault because not only is the coaching bad, but the play calling is also bad. And then my last thing, going to Denver, bro, I started Russell Wilson as my fantasy quarterback this week. He went out anyway, but I had benched him before he was ruled out, Deshaun Watson. I had benched him before he was ruled out and put in Russell Wilson. I bet when y'all saw me go pick up Russell Wilson last Monday, y'all were like, what in the hell is D-Will doing picking up Russell Wilson, right? And this was with Deshaun Watson coming off his best game since he's been back in the NFL. But I watched Denver play. It ain't Russell Wilson's fault. Yeah, he's soft. Yeah, he a punk, and yeah, we don't like him, right? He's one of those people you just when you want to punch him in the face, right? Let's just keep it 1,000. He's one of those guys that has a very punchable face. We know his off the field prowess, where he won his own office. Actually, Marshawn Lynch came out on Club Shay Shay on Shannon Sharp's podcast and talked about his relationship or lack thereof with Russell Wilson while he was in Seattle. So we know who Russell Wilson is as a person, but as a player, he's not the reason that Denver's losing football games. And that's why I'm not so big on putting it on Sean Payton, because if you watch Russell Wilson play football over the last 2 weeks, you can see him and Sean Payton starting to grow some continuity. And if the defense can do anything, like just pinch them, do something. I understand they got a lot of injuries, but if you just pinch them or do something, they'll be good, man. So that's what I say. I'm not going to put that on Sean Payton because I believe in him. I think he's really good. But those other three that I named, including Bill Belichick, they got to get some things changed up.
All right. There it is. I give my thoughts in my Ballins and Busters award. I give my thoughts there because, I played quarterback, and for any coach that that calls a play, and I think me and D. Will, we had a blow up about this in our podcast days, where if coach called a play that's going to put me in harm's way, I'm not running that play. I'm changing it in the huddle, and I'm going to do something else because I love me, and you're not going to put me in a bad situation. You're not going to put me in a bad situation on purpose.
Yep.
On purpose? No, I'm not doing that. And I think a lot of these coaches are putting these quarterbacks in tough situations and tell them, everybody's not a Michael Vick where he can, and Lamar Jackson where they and Patrick Mahomes where no matter what play is being called, you can circumvent that with your athletic ability to get out of that play and make something out of nothing. And I think a lot of these coaches have been coddled. They've been recycled, retreaded back into the NFL. And we get sick and tired of it. Like the coach in Chicago, where did he even come from? You see what I'm saying? Like, it's hard. It's heartbreaking to take or to see how these quarterbacks that are top 10 quarterbacks being put in a bad situation. Now, you look at CJ Stroud, they're putting him in good situation the last couple of weeks.
But you got to understand, CJ was drafted by a regime that wants him. When we look at Justin Fields, this is a new regime, and they didn't draft this quarterback, so they don't have anything to gain by him succeeding. See, They can let him. He's still on his rookie deal. They
Right.
can stink this year, fall down or whatever, and then they got these quarterbacks coming out, and they can fresh start. And also, you got to look at they'll have to pay Justin in a year or two. When you know what happens with new teams, they want to come in with a quarterback in a position where they can build the team around him and not have to pay him big dollars. So I think Justin, he's coming up on a pay year. He has.
Oh, Justin Fields. Justin Fields will not be the quarterback at Chicago next year.
Right. That's what I'm
Because
saying.
they're going to have the number 1 pick, and I think they got 2 early first round picks. So with that, they're going to take a quarterback.
The first 2
picks. Top 5 picks. Right. Yeah. I thought they had 1 and 2. Right. So they're going to take a quarterback. So Justin Fields will be out in Chicago next year, and he'll be down there in ATL with y'all.
Yeah. So you can look for the rest of the year them just saying, okay, go out there and make plays. Go out there and be Mike Vick. Because if you go out there and get hurt, it's not going to hurt them at all because they're going to get off of him. So he needs to protect himself and show that he can play so someone will give him a shot somewhere else because he will, like you said, he won't be in Chicago next year.
Yeah. All right, man, that's going to end our hot news. We're going to jump right into our guy. And it's baseball season. I put up a post last 2 days ago, and we said it was Choptober, and it is October. Is when October comes, it's Halloween and it's playoff baseball. And that we got my guy right here on camera. He camera ready this week. He was out of town in Boston last week, but he's ready this week. Everybody give a shout out to my main man, Mr. Bowling Bob Lancaster. What's going on, Bob?
How y'all doing today?
Yeah, I know you was itching and anxious to get in this conversation about college football because you from the state of Washington and you know about Michael Penix.
It is a good time.
Tell us what
time to be a sports fan for me. Let's see, Braves in the playoffs. Seahawks are 3-1. My Huskies in the national title conversation. Michael Penix Jr., one of the most electric quarterbacks, and that offense is as good as I've ever seen a Washington offense roll. But Pac-12 soft defense, anything can be ran up. I mean, you're pretty much going to have to put up, 30 points a game. They got the bye week this week, and then we go right into Oregon next week. That is a huge matchup. I mean, that's going to determine this side, and then who probably going to take on USC in the Pac-12 championship game. But yeah, the next matchup against Oregon is just massive. I mean, we're really going to see, can Michael Penix Jr. step up when it comes to a primetime game? But yeah, this offense, as I said, I've been a UW fan my whole life, and I've never seen it as good as this. I mean, we brought in a guy, Sam Heward, who's just legacy for UW, and he transferred right on out because I think he realized that Penix was the real deal coming in, especially in DeBoer's offense, where he came from Fresno. And is familiar with the Fresno offense and was just able to step right in. But they've utilized him to his fullest potential to where he went from a name that nobody knew to where he's got a legitimate shot of walking into the NFL next year at I don't know if I wouldn't necessarily say first round, but I mean at least second round. I mean his stock has just done nothing but go sky high.
Hancock putting up his finger. He said he's the first round pick.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I feel. You look at who's been, who's going to come out. I mean, Caleb is, he's a once a generational type quarterback. And we were talking about who the best. Caleb until we get that Pac-12 championship matchup. And we see Penix play him, Caleb is that guy. I mean, there's a reason that he won the Heisman last year and why he's the favorite to win the Heisman this year. But I mean, you can't take Penix Jr. out of that Heisman, conversation yet. I think he's fully put himself in within the top 4. I mean, he's just, I said, it's just a lot of fun to watch that offense, but can they play the defense to get themselves to the Final Four?
Hey, so that right there, Hancock and D. Will, that is a perfect example of what I'm trying to say about how coaches put these quarterbacks in situations to fail or to succeed.
Well, you
And
look,
Michael
I mean, you
Penix
talk about
Jr.
Justin Fields. I mean, Justin Fields is just, he's being set up to fail. I don't understand it. I mean, for him to come out there, come out in the press and basically say that they're setting up to fail is the absolute truth. You put him with a coach that can utilize his potential. I'm not going to say he's top 5 in the league, but he ain't where he's at right now. I mean, he's got the talent. And it just amazes me how the coaches don't play to his strengths in Chicago. And that's why Chicago's a dumpster fire. I mean, that's the sole reason. Get him out of there and let him play for a team that can utilize his potential.
Atlanta.
Atlanta needs him. I'm really shocked that they haven't tried. I know NFL don't trade much during the season, but that to me is a potential trade opportunity that presents itself because clearly Chicago don't want him.
But you see what Marlon's saying in the chat though, right? D. Will in hand.
Hey, the SWATs want him.
Yeah, but Arthur Blank still kind of sore about that Michael Vick situation. Maybe that's not.
Arthur Blank has a tough time moving on from anybody. I mean, that's the problem with Arthur Blank is, everyone's his guy. Once he takes a liking to someone, it's hard for them to get rid of people. I mean, I've seen coaches for the Falcons that have stuck around too long. I mean, Matt Ryan probably should have went, a couple years before he actually did go. But like I said earlier, I mean, Matt Ryan's the guy I call right now to come in as a veteran to give the Falcons a chance to win this year and maybe have Ritter sit behind him and learn. I mean, Ritter never sat behind a quality quarterback. I mean, Mariota was a horrible person to have to teach him the game. I mean, Mariota never learned the game. I mean, he was terrible, and then he walks out on him. Well, what does that say to a young rookie quarterback? I mean, the guy that you're supposed to be learning from just done walked out on the team. So, yeah, they need a veteran there right now for sure.
All right, let's talk baseball. The NLDS has started. I see the Phillies and the Marlins about to get started in their second game. The Minnesota Twins, I think, just won again. And let's talk about the Braves. You're here to do the Braves report, so let's talk about the Braves. The Braves go. Would you say they're limping into the playoffs or they ride high?
I hate to use the words, HO, but deja vu from last year. Here we go again. Offense absolutely rolling. Pitching, injuries. And here we go with the Phillies. I mean, the Marlins aren't going to make it. The Marlins are just a borderline AAA team that walked themselves into a lucky season and got into the playoffs. They're not going to hang with the Phillies. I mean, there's just no chance. And if it did, it would be one of the bigger upsets in baseball playoffs that I can remember. So I fully expect to see the Phillies, but here we are where Max Fried, he did pitch in the simulated game. I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, but he pitched with that Band-Aid still on. So the blister problem is still, presents itself. Charlie Morton, he had the finger injury, and again, now there's a possibility that, we lose him in the first round, which is huge because now with the way that the Braves look to be setting up the rotation, it looks to be Spencer Strider is going to go game 1, Max will go game 2. And then depending on Charlie's injury, we may have the phantom, someone got hurt, and now we have to replace him with Charlie Morton on the roster, which I fully expect to happen. Or we're going to go with a Bryce Elder. Let me see.
Schauser.
Yeah, I would say Bryce Elder, and then Kyle would be who I feel would come in if Bryce, couldn't get it done, and then we would go further down the bullpen. But I do expect game 3, if Charlie can't go, to be a bullpen game first and foremost. It really all depends on, how the first 2 games go. I mean, the Braves have got to win the first 2 at home. That's the whole reason you do what you do. You win all those games. You get that home field advantage. If you lose that and you ride, it is just like last year. Phillies get to go back home. That's not the easiest place to play. I mean, their fans are, as crazy, and it's just, just I don't know, man. I mean, I think we've got to win the first two. I just don't trust our pitching, right now. I mean, I was fully confident that if we could have three with Charlie pitching that third game, and then here, then losing him to just a freak ham injury. And then, here we are, with the blister problem, and those blisters problems, you can't get rid of them. They just pop up, so they're really, really tough to heal unless you give it time. And that's something the Braves don't have right now is time.
All right. So you talked about Charlie Morton. Now, am I correct me if I'm wrong? He's ineligible to play in the Phillies series if the Phillies win, or he's good to go.
He's ineligible unless he replaces an injured player on the roster. So if he's good to go, which because he would be able to be off the disabled list by game 3. So if he's ready to go, someone's going to have a phantom injury and, someone's elbow is just going to act up and they'll get him back on the roster. I mean, from everything that I've been reading, and trust me, I've been on this, pretty much all week long, they're not comfortable with saying that he is going to make it back in time. From what I understand, it's a pretty significant sprain in his finger. Just a freak thing again with him. Last year it was taking the shot off the leg and, having a broken leg. And then, here it is, another freak injury right before the playoffs. But I do, if he's ready to go by game 3, like I said, he will be eligible to come off the DL, but they just have to the only way he can get on that roster is if someone goes on the injured list. But now that injured person cannot be on the roster at all, I believe, through the rest of the playoffs. If you take someone off and get replaced, they are ineligible the rest of the playoffs. So it's going to be someone that's like the 40th, the 26th guy or whatever,
Okay, so like Luke Williams or somebody.
Exactly.
Like that.
That's why you're going to see, a guy like Luke make the roster is just in case, or even a pitcher, that's, like an Elder or something like that. They're someone that's expendable to be off the roster. I just say Elder, but
Darius Vines.
Yeah. Vines is, that's, guys like that, so, but like I said, we'll really see that here as the week comes along, and see, I want to see that he's that he's throwing on the sidelines, because he will need to throw some kind of bullpen, extended bullpen, if they're going to start him in game 3. So, we'll just have to see. I hope so. I mean, he's such a big part to this Braves roster.
All right, explain to D. Will and Hancock the season Ronald Acuna just had, possibly the best season ever for Atlanta Braves, statistic wise. Go ahead and explain the type of season that you've witnessed. You cover the Braves, you witnessed this, and I'm pretty sure that with 73 stolen bases, finishing second in hitting and first in hits with over 40 home runs, that's big. But I'll let you take the stage on that.
Here's how we can put it right here. We have a guy on the Braves team that hit 50 home runs, had 130 RBIs, and isn't going to sniff the MVP because of the season that Ronald Acuna had. I mean, even if you take the whole extended bases, only being able to throw to first base, 2 times per, he still has an easy 40, 50 season. And which, what only 4 people have ever done in the history of baseball. We're not just talking 4 people in the last few years. We're talking 4 people in the history of the game. I mean, and you look at, that's Hall of Famers. I mean, Barry Bonds, I'm calling him a Hall of Famer. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, so, he's on that list. I would put him as, at the top of guys that are, that 40-40 type guy. But 40-70 it's just so unreal. And again, you talk about value. I mean, he sets the table for us. I mean, to me, doing 40-70 like that in the leadoff spot is what makes him more valuable to us than had he put up 40-70 in, say, the number 3, number 4 spot, which is why, Matt Olson doesn't get, won't get the recognition he deserves. I mean, Matt Olson is not even going to be might be top 3, maybe 4. I mean, Mookie Betts put up, the just unreal numbers this year, and he's not even going to be the MVP. So, yeah, I mean, it's a season that I would say we probably never see again. But you know what? I truly believe he could replicate that again next year. He's just that talented. And the other thing about it is, we still got 4 more years of this guy at like bargain basement prices. If I'm the Braves this year, after seeing this season, I'm headed to renegotiation with him. And I mean, you got to. I mean, you extend him for 2 more years into his age 30 season, and then you start bumping up them numbers, and because what he's done for us and the money that he's playing for, I wouldn't want him to go into free agency at age 28. I mean, we're talking 300-400 million at this time. Could be the starting point for a guy like him. And the Braves are, have a history of not going into deep contracts with guys at their age 28 and older season. I mean, look at Freddie Freeman. We're like, see ya. Max Fried, he ain't going to be here next year. I mean, we're not going to give those type of contracts to a 28 and older. So a lot of these guys, when their contracts due in, Albies, Acuna and all them, that's when they end 28-year-old season. Yeah. And like I said, we enjoy it now because, give it 4 years and we're going to be starting all over.
All right, D. Will, Han, y'all got any questions for Bob right now about the Braves?
Yeah, I got one, and I know y'all surprised. Y'all surprised right now, aren't you? I got a question about the Braves for Bob, but honestly, I want to know who's your X factor in that lineup. We know the Braves have been hitting the ball ridiculous all season long, right? But who is that X factor in the backside of that lineup who needs to step up? Is it going to be a Michael Harris? Who needs to be one of those people that's going to step up in that lineup to be able to make sure Acuna and Albies and Olsen and all those guys in the top of the lineup get the hits they need to get to drive in those runs?
Michael Harris to me is definitely the X factor. And the reason that being said is because where he bats in the lineup, usually 7, 8, or 9, in a close matchup in colder weather, which is headed towards Atlanta here by the weekend, because the Braves tend to homer more in the heat. That's just how it is in Atlanta. The ball flies a lot higher when the temperatures are up in the 90s. We're expecting 60s here, so the hitters are going to have to set the table at the end of the lineup to give Acuna at number 1 a chance to drive in runs. Being at 1, the table setters, that's what I think the success of the Braves lineup has been, that 1 through 9, there's really not a weakness. I mean, the guy that we considered to be the weakness in this lineup this year hit 40 home runs in Azuna, and to me had what could be considered a career year for him, for a guy that 98% of Atlanta wanted released within the first month of the season. And the other thing that I think the Braves got to do to win is need a little more production from catching. I think they had the wear and tear of the heat played into the fact that the catching spot just didn't really present much offense the last 2 months. Having played in Oakland, Sean Murphy really never got to experience the humidity catching every 2 days or so. He got spelled quite a bit by Travis, but Still that grind of being a catcher in this heat and never having experienced something like that. I mean, that'll take it all out of you. Nine innings, and 100-degree heat, humidity. That's a hard thing to do, and he really struggled offensively. I really need to see his bat and the catcher's bat, because they usually bat them sixth in the lineup, and we lost a lot of production. And Ozuna really carried us in that 5-6 hole for us the last month of the season. So, but yeah, Michael Harris sets the table for us in that third, fourth inning where we really need to start rolling, especially if we're behind in a game. Starting pitching is going to be the way we win this thing. But that's how the playoffs are. The best pitching staffs win in the playoffs. So because offense, like I said, the colder weather, the offense dies out, ball doesn't travel as high. So yeah, if the Braves starting pitching can get us to the fifth inning, let this bullpen roll, I think that we are as unbeatable a team, at least in the National League, as there is.
Yeah, well, you kind of touched on what I was about to go into and ask you about when you talked about the pitching. I lived through these 14 pennants in a row or whatever back in the day when the Braves were the pitching capital of baseball, of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And when you had Glavine and Smoltz and even, what was it, Steve, what was his name back in the day?
Yeah, mm-hmm.
Yeah, Steve Avery, those guys. And, living through that, you kind of hung your hat on the pitching, but you didn't really have that thump in the lineup consistently throughout, like you talked about here. Okay, seeing that, what do you feel more comfortable with now with having all this offense? Because I made a joke last week that if you end up by a touchdown and extra point and the Braves still got life, you're in trouble because 7 runs is nothing to them. Yeah. They look like they come back regardless. So you better have a touchdown lead going into about the 8th or 9th inning, that's in trouble. So with that, I heard you say about the temperature and it being cold, but man, there's some thumpers on that team. We haven't talked about Austin Riley can hit the ball. I see Rosario hit the ball. Yeah. You talked about Albies with pop. I didn't see him come up early in his career. I didn't know he was going to have this kind of pop. And they just have anybody looks like they can go out the yard at any time. You talk about Ozuna, and so that lineup is so scary. What do you feel more comfortable with? Let's say if you could turn the clock back and you had your choice and you had the Braves of the pitching era or going into now with these sticks, which one do you feel more comfortable with?
Well, it's just a different style of game, though. I mean, back in the day, the early days, with Glavine and Smoltz, those guys were going to give you 7+ if not 8+ innings so you could go right to your closer. Those days in baseball are done. I mean, the game has changed so much that if you get a starting pitcher that gives you 6 quality, you better have the bullpen in line to be able to be successful in this league. But you touched on it. I mean, there's no lead safe with the Braves. I mean, the Braves for, I would say, HO, would you say probably the last 3 or 4 years is homers or die. I mean, that's how it is. When we don't have the power, that's where we don't win games, because this lineup is not built to single your way around and get runners over. I mean, I would venture to say that we probably led the league in leaving men in scoring position this year, because once we get bases loaded, nobody out, I have zero confidence in the Braves. First and second, 2 outs, needing a 3-run homer, I'd bet that all day that we're going to hit a 3-run homer. So it's definitely, the Braves have definitely based themselves off of the long ball. It's just, we have such a dangerous lineup. I mean, we have one weakness in our hitting lineup, and that's whoever whoever bats up in that 8. I think they've been putting 8, whoever bats before Harris. I'm going to guess that we're probably going to see Eddie more this series, just because of how well he played in the playoffs last year and him having that playoff experience. that's the smallest weakness we got. I'd take that all day long. But you gotta, depending on who we play, and like I said, I fully expect that to be the Phillies. They're a team that's based the same exact way. They can thump the ball with the best of them as well. I mean, Kyle Schwarber, their leadoff guy, hit below the Mendoza line and had 40 home runs and 100 RBIs. That is unreal. I mean, an OPS over 880 with a guy that batted 198. That's incredible to me. So, they do have guys that can thump the ball as well. They have the better starting pitching, I think, than we do. But their bullpen is weaker than ours is. So I think it's going to be really, really close. I don't think that there's going to be any type of blowout at all. Each game, they play the closest to us. I think the only other team that I think plays as close to us is Arizona.
So what do you attribute the new way, and it's almost to me like a new style of baseball, where they're putting these power hitters or players like that up in the top of the lineup? Is it due to the new rules that have come into the game? Is that it, or what is it? Because it doesn't. It's just a baseball that has been foreign to me. You had batters up there, you had fast guys up there that could put the ball in play. You had your third place hitter who was driving in runs, and then your cleanup hitter. But now it doesn't seem that way. You got a guy up there in the thumb position, number one. Let him go hit.
Yeah, I agree with you. The leadoff position over the last, I would say 5 years has completely changed. You never saw those guys. I mean, the leadoff position in I would say 80s and 90s was, your quickest guy was going to steal a base for you, was going to bat 300. Now, you see guys like, with Acuna, it's more of a comfort. He's always been comfortable batting leadoff. He did not want to go further down the lineup, but he walks a lot. Same with Schwarber. Schwarber walks at near the top in the league. And so I think that's where the analytics of the game have changed. Now you're okay with, having a guy that just gets on base, that has a really good on base percentage. And then now you see more of the number 2 hitter in the lineup being a guy that can thump and get him in, where 1 and 2 used to be the table setter for 3 and 4 to drive in all those runs. You never saw a number 2 guy with 120, 130 RBIs back in the early days, what early day, the 80s, 90s, you never saw that. But, but now, your number 2 guy is driving in just as many runs as your 3 and 4. And then, in the Braves case, 5 and 6 are just as deadly as, 1 and 2. But I think the success of the bottom of the lineup with Michael Harris has what allowed, Acuna to be able to get the RBIs that he was able to get. We didn't see it as much when Harris struggled at the beginning of the year, but once those hits that were starting to fall for Harris, you all of a sudden started to see Acuna's RBI number start to go sky high from middle of the season up. But yeah, it is definitely a different style of game. I still think that the majority of the MLB teams still have your speediest guy at the top of the lineup, for sure, to take those extra bases. But, when it comes to people complaining about the Acuna and the stolen bases, why didn't everybody steal 70 bases then? Exactly. There was 2 people that stole, 70 this year. Nobody else was in. The steals were up. Don't get me wrong, but if it was that easy, why weren't the numbers sky high? They weren't. So so anybody that wants to complain about Acuna doing what he did because of the new rules, and that's BS to me, because not everybody else did it.
Hey Bob, did you contribute Brady Anderson as the one who kind of changed the leadoff spot with that 50 home run year that he had at the leadoff spot when he was with the Orioles?
No,
was that the start of that trend, or do you think was George Springer with the Houston Astros when he was back with the Astros?
I definitely don't. I contribute Brady Anderson to a year of steroids. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I mean, you look at a guy that in his career never hit 20 home runs, and then 1 year pops 50. Yeah, no. It's hard to tell. I think again, once the game changed from managerial decisions to analytical decisions and how to I contribute Billy Bean to the change of the game, because once analytics came into the game and he started doing this with Oakland and how your pieces fit by looking at better numbers other than stolen bases, batting average, on base percentage is such a huge part of the game now. OPS, those type of things that we never looked at, early in the game. It is what changed it. I mean, you just knowing how your pieces fit. Now, I think that if the Braves would probably rather have Acuna batting third, but then and maybe having Ozzie leading off. But that's where he's comfortable, and you've got a guy that just had a generational season. Well, why are you going to mess with him? I mean, put him somewhere where he's not comfortable. Over when you got the boppers that we have. I mean, we batted, Matt Olson in a spot that he's never really batted for. He was a 2-3 guy in Oakland. And you got him in a spot, and again, he had what would normally be an MVP season for anyone, and and it's like I said, it's not even good enough to maybe make the top 3 this year in the National League for MVP. So it is. I think it's just all the game's changed so much to analytics, and what the computer says makes a better lineup for you over managers, which is why I think you aren't seeing the old school managers anymore being successful. I mean, Buck Showalter he's no longer got a mind for the game. He's a great manager and he's a great clubhouse guy, but the decisions that he makes in the 2 years that he was in New York with the Mets, you see how that team just never performed. And so you got to get a younger guy in there that's, acceptable to being taught when it comes to an analytical type lineup. Brian, Snitker, as old school as he is, still realizes that, you have the people in the front office that will, provide you with the success for him to win year after year after year after year. And that all comes from the minor league system up. I mean, the fact that the Braves have been able to pull guys from AA straight to the bigs for 2 years in a row now tells you the type of coaching that they're getting, both in Mississippi, especially. Mississippi is just churning out star after star after star after star. We're not seeing that as much in Gwinnett, but whatever they're doing in AA and single A and at Rome is just unbelievable. I mean, we now have, I think, the third worst farm system in baseball, and all of a sudden I'm starting to see more names that I never heard coming into the top 100 of prospects because they're being coached so well in the minors.
All right. Any other questions, fellas, before we let Bob go? All right, Bob. How much confidence do you have the Braves at least getting past the first round?
3-1. I think the Braves are going to do this again. Give me 5. Give me 5 solid. That bullpen has been absolutely lights out in the second half of this season, and I've told you that from day one this year, that our starters, all they got to do is give us 6. But in the playoffs, all you got to do is give us 5. That's all I ask for. If we have any kind of lead that's 3 runs or more, we're going all the way. I mean, Philly I just don't think, with us having home field, but we just cannot we can't let home field get away from us. I mean, we worked way too hard and won as many games as we did to ensure that everything has to come through Atlanta for anybody else to win. And that's the biggest thing. Our fans, our time, that you got to compete with that. And I tend to think that right now in this city of Atlanta, the Braves have taken over. I mean, the sellouts every game. I mean, now it's the hot ticket in town. I mean, so,
Are you afraid of anybody in the American League?
Baltimore they're the Braves of 2 years ago. I mean, the young guys are now all up there. I cannot believe I'm telling you that Baltimore scares me, but they just have it. I mean, those young, talented guys, even in the National League, because of the same way, the Diamondbacks, I'm hoping they go. I don't want to see them if we get past Philly, I don't want to see them in the divisional series. So,
Right.
it just they scare me. They've got good starting pitching, and then they've got a lineup. I mean, Corbin Carroll is going to win Rookie of the Year, and they're just talented up and down that lineup. So, but yeah, if anybody in the American League, is Baltimore's time, and Baltimore is setting themselves up to be the Braves, in the American League, where this isn't just a one and done for them. You always hope with them the ownership won't screw them up like they do year after year after year in Baltimore. But again, that they are setting themselves up. They did things the Braves way by not overspending on free agents and just letting your prospects play out after years of losing to get there. I mean, I'm a big fan of starting over. I mean, because the number one thing I can't stand is just getting there and then exiting the playoffs every year. You look at Tampa Bay Rays right now, they're in the exact same thing that the Braves were doing for years, where it was just, hey, okay, we're happy getting to the playoffs. Man, if you're happy just getting to the playoffs, burn it down, start it all over again, get them prospects, and then build yourself into a World Series contending team, not just a team happy to get into the playoffs.
All right,
Sound like Hancock.
All right, Bob, we got to roll. Before you leave, let everybody know where they can find you on the X or Twitter, whatever it's called at this point.
You find me at Bowling Bob. I said I'm talking sports all the time. If it's not talking smack about anybody playing the Seahawks or anybody playing the Braves, I mean, I just like to talk a lot of crap. So feel free to come at me. So. I'm just glad I don't have a slappable face, sitting next to D Will here. So
all right. Let them know what your Twitter handle is.
It's at Bowling Bob. You can see it here down on the screen here. I said that's where you find me. I tried the spaces or whatever that is, and I'm an X guy. I just can't get away from there. The conversation just seems to be sports better on that, and that's where to find me, and just hit me up. Let's chat.
Good deal, man. We appreciate it, bro. Thanks again for always coming through talking Braves baseball.
Hopefully we'll be talking about it a few more times before World Series time.
There you go. All right, Bob. Appreciate it.
Later, guys.
All right. There he is, fellas. Bob Lancaster. That's our guy. And D-Will, I think you said you had to roll, but we about to jump into some ballers and busters. You want to hang around and do some ballers and busters?
Throw them to me real quick because I gotta jump up out of here. But yeah, throw them to me real quick. I got something.
All right, ballers and busters. My baller this. I'm gonna just go ahead and start off. My baller this week is who did I say? Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin in his offense. 300-yard rushing, 300-yard passing. He was playing vanilla against Alabama the whole time, and he let the dogs out against LSU. He put them dogs out on LSU. And I got another baller. Also, the kid from Colorado on the scene, Amarion Miller. He had an outstanding game, 7 catches, 196 yards. And he had an awesome game for Colorado as Shedeur found him in the end zone one time. And he had a breakout game. So I had 2 ballers this week. All right, Han, what you got?
I'm going CMC, man. Christian McCaffrey. This guy, he's been doubted a couple of times because we kind of thought he might have been given, well, I'm be honest with myself, thought he might be given a little bit more just because of, I guess, who he is. Let's just put it like that. But he is truly a phenomenal football player. So to watch him play and they use this guy. See, this is why I get upset when you have talented players and you can't find a way to get them a football. Everybody in America knows San Francisco's going to get that ball to him, passing, running, any kind of way they can. They put him in motion. They split him out wide, but they find a way to let him affect the game. And he just putting up number after number every week. And yeah, he does have a good team around him. You got Debo, you got Ayuk, you got other players, but still with this, they find a way to get him the ball, and he affects the game every week. So I give it to CMC. I think he had 4 touchdowns this past week again. So I think he's just all over the field and doing it every week. So let's go, Christian McCaffrey.
All right, D. Will.
Man, my baller of the week is, drum roll please, the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks are my baller of the week. For them to be able to acquire Dame Lillard and still be able to keep Bobby Portis, Chris Middleton, and Twin. Come on, stop it. They didn't give up any of their core and were able to bring in Dame Lillard to pair up with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Bro, I'm telling you, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, Antetokounmpo, and Dame Lillard, and you add in a Chris Middleton. Oh my goodness. The East, listen, the NBA is at an all-time high right now. It is such a beautiful thing to watch all the moves that are being made to have these uber competitive teams throughout the NBA. The East is stacked. The West is out of control stacked. Wait till Memphis gets back John Morant to pair with now Marcus Smart and Derrick Rose. Like, bro, listen, the NBA is where it's at right now. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. And they won the media circus when they were able to add Dame Lillard and not give up any of their core players and to bring in a superstar like that. It's going to be fun to watch. So, man, yeah, Milwaukee Bucks are my ball over the week.
Well, to counter what you just said, Hancock still got Boston above Milwaukee from last week.
Well, listen, I didn't have Boston above Milwaukee when the trade was made. When they acquired Drew Holiday, that changes everything, right?
Yeah.
Now that changes the dynamic because now you have a better Marcus Smart in Milwaukee, right? However, Giannis Antetokounmpo is the most dominant and best player in the NBA. I do not see them being able to beat him. If he's healthy and at 100%, and now you give him Dame Lillard, I'm sorry, I'm not taking the Boston Celtics over Milwaukee Bucks because, in my opinion, Giannis Antetokounmpo will be the best player and the most dominant player on that floor that's going to change the game more than anybody else that Boston has. And I love Jalen, I love Jason, and I love the Porzingis pickup. The Porzingis pickup put them at another level already. Now to add a Drew Holiday to replace a Marcus Smart, that's a big pickup. But however, it still ain't Giannis. And if you add a Dame to that, I'm still taking Giannis every day of the week.
I can't wait to see it. I just can't wait. I'm ready for it to tip.
It's gonna be fun.
I'm ready for the NBA. I promise I am. Prize picks, get them out there.
All right, man. So now we're going with the Buster. My Buster goes, and he's pretty regular now, but Arthur Smith at the Atlanta Falcons. This is the problem I have. For people blaming the quarterback, you only can run what the coach say run. You're putting this guy in terrible situations and bad situations. And when you got Drake London and Kyle Pitts, they've only combined for 17 receptions for the season. Keenan Allen had 18 catches in one game. So you mean to tell me, I'm trying to figure out, and I'm still trying to figure this out, what was told in the interview that sold the Falcons or sold Arthur Blank on this kid being a head coach in the NFL?
I think it's more so Desmond Ridder. Big H.O., we know you hate coaches. You hate coaches, and you're going to always give Atlanta hard times. Listen, I've known you for 10 years, and I've worked with you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen you give an Atlanta Falcons coach credit. Even when Dan Quinn led them to the freaking Super Bowl, you were hard on Dan Quinn. You're not going to like coaches, but come on, bro. Desmond Ridder sucks. I don't care who Arthur Smith is calling plays for. If he's calling them and Desmond Ridder has the running, bro, Atlanta's going to struggle. Listen, you got to give a coach something. You got to give him some groceries to cook. And that's some spoiled meat y'all got sitting at quarterback right now.
Guess who picked him? Arthur Smith.
Well, I'm saying it's not like he took him number 1, right? Like
but you didn't have to pick him at all.
If you don't pick him at all, what you end up with?
If you're gonna pick Kyle Pitts 4, then find somebody that's gonna give him the ball or get him.
It was a weak quarterback draft. Let's go back to it. It was a weak quarterback draft, right? It's not like they had a lot of pickings to go from when they chose Desmond Ridder 2 years ago. It was a weak quarterback draft. So I'm with you. I think Arthur Smith needs to do a better job. But boy, if you're gonna ask me to do a better job, you got to give me somebody better to work with.
That's right. That man is not in the NFL. Definitely not a starting quarterback.
Oh, I understand.
Not even close.
I'm not knocking that. He's not. I'm not bumping for Ridder. I just don't like the coach and his offense. Listen, it's been proven in Atlanta that when Arthur Smith made Kyle Shanahan look like God when it comes to play call, because he took a Matt Ryan, put him in a position to win a NFL MVP, which nobody in Atlanta thought that was even possible. So that's my point. When the coach can put you in a situation to succeed, you will succeed. And I get it. You got to have somebody, even when Ridder had time to throw, it's overthrown or thrown to the other team, and I get that.
It's in the dirt.
Yeah. But my thing is,
Mac Hollins wouldn't even talk to him, man. He tried to come inside.
I know it. Listen. And the thing about it, you got a Lamborghini. This is my thing, D. Will. You lead. You got 2 horses in the backfield. You got a Lamborghini and a Bentley in the backfield.
Yep, you do.
You lead the league in 3 and outs. Your partner is on the way to the Pro Bowl because of the coach and what he's doing. You take the first series and you don't run the ball not one time. And you go
now that's coaching.
You go force Desmond Ridder to be a passer. And
because he's hearing everything, though. Huh? He's hearing everything about everybody saying you're not getting the ball to your weapons and all. So he's letting that affect him. And I think that's the problem. That's the problem with coaching, because you're gonna hear that you're not using these guys that you took in these top draft pick positions, as you took, like we talked about. What's the wide receiver? I mean, the tight end, Pickens. Pitts. I'm sorry. You take Pitts. You take Bijan Robinson, even and Drake London. And you got. If you put a real quarterback with the weapons, those are offensive weapons.
Right.
Think about that. Those guys under the right tutelage with somebody coming there. If Kyle Shanahan had that crew, what do you think he could do with that?
I agree.
So that's what I mean. Yeah. So now he's feeling that pressure of saying, you talking about him throwing earlier. He's feeling the pressure. I got to go out here and use these toys. But he don't know how to use. You got a quarterback
you can't throw. You didn't even play him in the preseason.
Yeah, but I don't think he knows how to use it.
Yeah, he does. He's not even a coach, though. That's the whole point.
Yeah, but
you talk about all he's hearing. Has he heard about the opening position they got at FedEx?
Yeah, but what he was when he came from Tennessee was a guy who had a horse in the backfield that he could turn around and hand the ball off to. That's what made that offense in Tennessee. They had a run game, and they had a big receiver out there who now is in Philadelphia. But think about it, they had A.J. Brown and they had big boy from Alabama in the backfield running the football.
Yeah, Derrick Henry.
They had Corey Davis as a second receiver.
Yeah, so that's what it was built on, a run game, and that's what he has here. But at least he had a quarterback that at least was somewhat accurate. I guess he'll get it to a position where AJ could make a play. Now,
Desmond Ridder's just bad, bro. We could go around this 1,000 times. Desmond Ridder is bad because I'm gonna tell you like this. Ho, I think you would love Arthur Smith if he had Tua back there throwing at them weapon.
I think he'll have Tua hurt out for the season.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. Well, as you can see, I'm not the only one who got Arthur Smith as a buster. As you can see, I mean, it's clearly to see. And I think I got the upper hand because, first of all, I'm a Grady baby. Second of all, I played the position. Third of all, I know what when you are put in situations where he don't even trust Desmond Ridder to even Desmond Ridder don't have enough moxie. That's another Thar's word, moxie, to change the play at the line or to say, you know what, because he's not even he's so bad
He
that
might not even be given
he's
the
seeing
opportunity though, Big Homie. They might
That's what I'm
tell him,
saying. Yeah,
no, don't you
yeah.
change nothing. You run what I give you.
You see him looking to the sideline for plays, right? Like, so they're not giving him the authority to change up.
He won't even hit his check down. That's the problem. I mean, the check down is the safest play in, man. All you got, listen, if the offensive line can't block, man, get it to you check down. All he doing is turn around, running, and just falling down.
Well, can I give you my buster, Big Homie?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
My buster is the officiating crew in the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh yeah. That was pretty bad.
This was horrendous. They called the safety on the block that started at the 3-yard line, and the replay showed the block taking place in the field of play and then going into the end zone. You got a safety on that, which started the game to go the other way. Then you turn around, the holding calls that they did not call on Kansas City. The offensive tackle was ballroom dancing. He would not let it go. I'm like, what are you doing? This was dancing with the stars. He was holding on almost, but the two biggest plays, especially one, the 20-yard scramble that Mahomes had, and then the
third down plays.
Yes, and then the play down the sideline where the interception was thrown, the quarterback gets the ball and starts running, then the flag comes out. It's like the buzzer went off on the hip to say, oh, we're not letting that happen. This Taylor Swift night, baby. Let's go. Let's get that penalty flag. It was horrible, man. That we talk about the NFL being fixed and rigged. This is why. When you see egregious calls like this, stuff that's just blatant out in the open, and you don't even try. I mean, you don't even try to front. You don't hide it. They pull the curtain back and say, "Yeah, we cheating. Look, we cheating," and that's just all there is to it. I mean, but they can get away with it because we're still going to watch. We're still going to gamble. We're still going to be there every Sunday watching these games. And it's becoming more and more scripted like WWE.
Yeah, there it is. All right, D-Will.
The NFL script. My buster is obviously the one and only Auburn Tigers. You had one job. You had one job. You had the number one team dead to rights on your home field, and you let them off the hook, right? Yeah. Like that's my buster of the week, because you could have shut up the entire landscape of college football, and not only that, you could have gave Hugh Freeze a signature. I mean, write your name on Jordan Harris Stadium signature win in his first year at the helm at Auburn, and they dropped the ball. That was what they should have. That was the game they needed to beat them, and they had them. They had them on the ropes, and they just turned into Auburn at the end.
Yep, I agree. All right, man, that's going to end our bottles and busters. I don't think we have any more. At least I don't. I think I'm gonna do a rant if I get off from the show tonight about my bust of the week.
D, I know you're about to go, but I got a question for you.
Right.
And I've kind of like gone. I won't say I've done a complete 180 on the Chris Paul pickup, but I've kind of looked at it in a different way. We looked at this squad last year. They were their starting five was one of the best Golden State that we saw in the NBA. What happened was when they went to their bench, when Steph and I went to the bench, and Poole and whomever had to run the show, the second unit would lose leads. Now, with the addition of Chris Paul being in there, taking that second unit under his wing, they're gonna get quality shots. They're gonna make sure he gets them in the sets. If they get a lead, I don't think you'll see them lose 10-point leads and go down like that. Do you think that this might be a better addition than what we first looked at and say, okay, well, maybe this was more than what we thought when we think about those?
I do. And the reason I agree with you on that is because if you look at the other pieces that Golden State has put together to be around Chris Paul. Now they're saying Chris Paul's going to start. Okay.
But how long
he's going to start?
How long? You see what I'm saying? How long would it go early?
Exactly. They're going to be able to manipulate those minutes to say, okay, you're a starter and you're playing starter minutes. However, your role is going to be more effective with that second unit. Now, when you look at the pieces that they will put around Chris Paul on that second unit, bring it back a DeMarcus Cousins, bring it back a Gary Payton II. Hopefully, Kuminga can finally turn the corner and become a guy who is a guy that can really give you something off the bench, be that scorer that can give you that 14 to 16 points per night in 18 to 20 minutes. If Kuminga can be that, which Chris Paul playing alongside of Chris Paul, it's very much so possible now because you're going to get served up on the platter each and every time out there. And like I say, adding somebody like a DeMarcus Cousins, who's a big that we know can still play in this league, that can stretch the floor and that can also defend the post. That second unit for Golden State has went through the roof. Now that you add a Chris Paul, who's going to be a maestro and an orchestrator for those younger guys who we've been looking for to step up over the last several years, who have yet to do so. However, bringing back that Gary Payton II, who was a big catalyst for that championship team 2 years ago. They lost him last year. You saw the bench fall off until they brought him back at the end of the year, right before the trade deadline. So I'm saying, I believe Chris Paul is going to be absolutely huge. At first, I was with you, Han. I didn't see how it was going to work. I didn't see how you were going to put all those guards on the floor to be somebody who's going to be the person.
Oh, like we lost.
Yeah, look like we lost.
But yeah, on his point, that's what I've been thinking about. But I'm looking at the West. I think there'll be a player. I want to see what Phoenix does. I think they're going to be good. The Lakers, I want to see because we're getting all these little indications that AD might be taking the mantle of being the guy. I have to see it. I don't know if that's going to be true. So I want to see if AD becomes this player or takes over this leadership role with the Lakers also. Go ahead, D. Will you?
That's my fault. I hit the wrong button. But yeah, people keep calling. I meant to put it on DND. But yeah, so I like that second unit. I think Chris Paul is going to be serving up, and I'm glad I came back in on your AD comment. 62 million. I understand you're handing the keys to the franchise to Anthony Davis. Is Anthony Davis going to be able to give you 66 games a year? That's the big question. Can he give you 66 games? And in those 66 games, can he be an MVP candidate? That's the only way I see it working. Like, they're handing it over to him, and he's talented enough. He has all the skill set. He's already won. Granted, being the bubble championship, he's already won. However, I'm not trusting him, Hancock. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to do it. I like what the Lakers have done. Bringing in Dwight Howard, I think, is going to change the dynamic of that basketball team. Dwight Howard is going to give them a hell of a lot on the defensive end, especially when they're talking about going up against Joker, right? Because that's who they really have to play for. If you look at it, Phoenix no longer has a big that scares you. Yeah, they brought in Nurkic or whatever. I think it was Nurkic or whatever his name is. They brought him in, but he's not a big you're going to be afraid of. So why are they bringing in somebody like a Dwight Howard? They need somebody who can fight with and keep up on the perimeter athletically with a Joker, because we know they put him in a lot of pick and roll and pick and pop situations, with him being the initiator of the pick and roll and the pick and pop. They can run a 5-1 pick and roll with Jamal Murray setting the screen and Jokic coming off being the decision maker. But if you put a Dwight Howard on a guy like that, you're going to be able to guard them out on the perimeter. So I think the Lakers have done, and like, they've added a lot of beef up front. adding a Christian Wood, another athletic big that can go out there. He might be lighting the pants to guard Jokic, but Jokic is going to have to come out and guard him because he's going to be able to shoot the basketball from the outside and put it on the floor and be a threat offensively. So I'm saying I love what the Lakers are doing, and I like what they did in the offseason. However, I just don't know if I'm ready to say that they should turn the keys over to Anthony Davis. However, they've already done it by paying him $62 million in the last year of his contract.
Hey, I heard a rumor that Anthony Davis is holding a workshop in LA on how to use your PTO time.
Oh.
Hey, but fellas, with this basketball,
he shouldn't have no more of that.
Yeah, with this basketball season coming up, I can see us doing an NBA preview show just to
get it out there. I'm with it. Let's do it.
To get people warmed up to the NBA season. It's coming up real soon. So
rock and roll, baby.
Let's go ahead and get prepared for the SRT NBA preview.
I'm with it.
I like the name of that. The SRT NBA preview show. I like that.
Yeah, man, because I think that a lot of people are going to be up in arms about how this NBA season is going to go. And Hancock already talked about the script, the football script. I wonder how this basketball script will go this season. That's the thing.
Hey, I will say this real quick though. I think the team that's being talked about the least out of all these new super teams, air quotes, Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns, that move they made by getting rid of DeAndre Ayton and freeing up the space for Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant to work without having to have the obligation to give it to DeAndre Ayton, because he was going to be a cancer in the locker room if he wasn't getting his touches, right? He was going to be the fourth, maybe fifth option a lot of times on the floor. So he was not going to be happy with that. So getting rid of him and opening up the floor and bringing in those other guys, and like I say, Nurkic can stretch the floor. He can knock down shots. Or Jokic and Nurkic, one of those guys. I can't remember which one it was. It's so many of those coming into the NBA right now. Yeah, Nurkic. He can stretch the floor. He's a big body. I think he's a better fit offensively for the Phoenix Sun. Can Frank Vogel be the one to put them together? We saw him do it in the bubble with the Lakers, right? We saw him be able to manage egos and manage people needing the basketball. When asked who's going to be the point guard, he said Bradley Booker, right? So can they win and survive with Devin Booker and Bradley Beal being the pseudo point guards? That's all I'm ready to see. I want to see if that's going to be able to work without them having a traditional point guard out there serving up and having a score first guy being the initiator of the offense. Can that work? But the thing is, if it does start to work, man, then you step into the game with 90 points. You walk into the game with 90.
A great point that you made, D. Will, as far as taking DeAndre Ayton out of clogging up the lane, because he wasn't the kind of guy that steps out 15 feet, 18 feet, and was effective at all. So
and you need your bigs to step out 26, 27 feet in today's game. If he's occupying the 17, 18 foot range, he's really still in today's game clogging up the middle, because those are where those superstar guys, that's where they function the most.
And what I want to see with Phoenix is, we saw last year, they had two nuclear weapons in Durant and in Book. But what happened was they kind of ran out of gas a little bit in that series. You saw it, they wore down, because Durant was having to play, he had to play defense, and you could see that take a toll on him. Okay, going into this year, what else besides bringing in Nurkic gives them that size in the middle that'll help? But these two guys now still have to play defense. I think the addition of Beal is good. I want to see if Beal can stay healthy. That's one thing. How, is that, did that mileage, or has it taken a toll on him? Will he be able to do this? And is he really willing to be a three? He's going to go from number one on a team to number three now.
Facts.
So, we have to make sure that, he's able to do this and wants to do this. We talk about buying in. And we can all buy in if we're winning. But if you start to lose, things start to change. So that's what I want to see too. You talk about egos, and that's the big thing. We'll have to see Vogel manage these egos.
That's where coaching come in.
Exactly. That's what Vogel has to manage.
But let's not sleep on the other parts that they brought in. I know we're gonna always talk a lot about those top 3 guys, but they got a lot of buckets on that bench. When you bring in a Grayson Allen, when you got a TJ Warren, when you got an Okogie who was really stepping up and showed last year that he's a player in this league. He's a guy that can give you efficient minutes, and not only efficient minutes, he can get buckets for you. So it's a lot of buckets on that bench for Phoenix. Now, I agree. When you look at that bench, even Eric Gordon, that's a sleeper. Somebody who's been added to that roster that people aren't talking about. That is a bucket that can take over some of that scoring prowess for guys on a night basis when Bradley Beal goes 2 for 13, or when Devin Booker has a 1 for 16 night, or when Kevin Durant can't get his mid-range to fall. Grayson Allen, Eric Gordon, and Okogie and TJ Warren are guys that can go in and supplement that scoring. So, yeah, they're going to struggle defensively. However, they're looking to outscore people this year. They're not looking to stop you. They're looking to get more buckets than you. And when you look around the NBA, especially in the Western Conference, it's not a lot of teams that are going to be able to go bucket for bucket with the Phoenix Suns.
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. I'm really jacked and hyped. I'm ready for it, man. I want to see.
All right, let's talk about James Harden real quick. Does he get traded? He's back in camp today. He missed yesterday, but he's back in Colorado Springs and back in Philadelphia camp. Does he get his way and get out of Philadelphia before we keep hearing this trade rumor to the Clippers as the season keeps approaching us? Do you think he gets to the Clippers, or you think he's stuck in Philadelphia?
My question is, James Harden, what do you want? Right? What is it that you are really wanting out of this situation? We understand you're asking for a trade, but from my understanding, your beef with Philly is that they didn't give you the max contract that they probably supposedly promised you, right? None of these other places that you're looking to go are going to give you a max contract. You're not getting that money. So if the money is the issue and none of these other places are giving you the money, Philly is the best chance for you to win. Staying with Embiid and staying with that young core with the Tyrese Maxey, that's the best chance for you to win. Now, granted, if you go to the Clippers, what are the Clippers going to have to give up? Right? The Clippers aren't finna, even though they're wanting to get off of either Kawhi Leonard or Paul George, they're not finna do that for James Harden. It's not going to happen, right? Even if the money matches up, they're not going to do it because at this point of James Harden's career, he's a lesser player. So, yeah, I think Philly is the best place for him to win. They're going to give him the most opportunity to be who we know James Harden is. He's not going to be able to go to any of those places, for one, get the money, or for two, to be somebody who can compete for a championship, even if he does go to the Clippers, which I don't think is going to happen.
And see, that's the thing. He said, I think what he does, you talked about the money situation. He basically didn't sign or whatever, went back to them under the impression they were going to give him this big money. You know, he didn't get his way out of there. So now he's already forced his way out of what? How many situations we've seen? At least 2, 3 times he's forced his way out of places.
Yep.
I'm not sure he's going to be able to do it this time. You know, how many?
Thanks.
Daryl Morey's not in a place to bring him in. He's mad at the guy who made a way for him to do these things. So I'm not sure. And, you know, behind the scenes, the NBA, believe me, they're talking. Owners are talking like, look, we can't allow this to keep happening. These players are forcing their way, making it do. They're doing whatever they want to do. Believe me, they talk. And they will collude. Colin Kaepernick, we've seen this stuff happen on different levels at different places. They will collude enough to not allow him to get his way this time. So I'm not sure he's going to get out either, D-Wood. I'm not sure.
He's not. They're going to treat him like Carmelo Anthony or Allen Iverson. They're going to blackball him before they allow him to do that. Yeah, and the blackball is not going to push him out the league. The blackball is, we're going to put you in a situation where you can't thrive. Right. We're going to we're going to take you to OKC. We're going to take you and send you to Memphis before Memphis is what Memphis is now. We're going to send you to these dungeons of places to where your career goes to die. and there it's going to die. And the narrative that we're drawing about you is going to be perpetrated throughout the social media world because people are going to start seeing you as such because you're in such a bad situation. So James Harden is on that brink of that happening for him.
Yep.
All right, real quick with our roundtable discussion question. Who's the best team in the NFL? Philly, Miami, San Francisco, Kansas City.
For me, it's the 49ers, man. To me, top to bottom, they're the most complete team I've watched this year. They got an awesome defense. And I hate that for my Cowboys this week. It's going to be a tough game. So to me, top to bottom, offensively, defensively, special teams, it's the 49ers, man. They're just a complete football team.
All right, D-Will, who you got?
I tend to agree with him, but I was so hard on the 49ers in the preseason saying that they weren't going to be who everybody said they were due to Brock Purdy. But damn, Brock Purdy looked like he might be able to play, bro. Like Brock Purdy keep making me stick my foot in my mouth. Like I keep hating on dude, and dude keeps balling out. Now, granted, for what Han said, he has a lot of weapons around him. Deebo Samuel, CMC. Man, if you got those two weapons, it's hard to mess it up, right? It's hard to mess it up when you got two weapons like that. And listen, that's what I say. Kittle is one of the top tight ends in the league. Always has been. And he's always been one of the best pass catching tight ends in the league. And like I say, he's able to set the edge on the offensive line when needed to, when you have to keep in max protection. So, like, listen, I agree with you, but however, I know they lost last week, but them damn Denver Broncos, bro, those guys can play. That's a tough atmosphere to go up to Buffalo and play against a Buffalo team who hadn't played that to their potential all season long. They were due. The Buffalo Bills were due that game. And you know, they probably played so bad the week before that, getting ready for the Dolphins this week because they know that's a divisional game. They notice who they're going to be fighting out for the divisional championship, and they know they couldn't lose that game at home. They couldn't lose that divisional game in Buffalo, right? Because he still got to go down to Miami. So I'm still high on the Miami Dolphins. I think that offense is y'all said we used the term of Lamborghini and Bentley earlier. Bro, this is a Tesla mixed with a Ferrari, mixed with everything else that goes really fast. Damn it, give me the Indianapolis 500. That's them, right? So if Tua can stay healthy, and I really like Mike McDaniel's ability and him and Tua's continuity. Those two guys are on the same page. That's what you want to see when you see a play caller and a quarterback on the same page. Those two are on the same page, and they're really getting it done. I'm going to go with San Francisco, but I'm going to sit here and tell you I really like the Miami Dolphins.
Okay. Both of those situations, San Francisco and Miami, got great play callers. They got coaches that puts their quarterback in position to succeed, period. Even though they have weapons around them, they don't cow down and bow down to the double teams and you go take my number one option away and all that. They don't do that. They figure out a way to get their horses the ball, and they go and that's what they do. So and I think that's my point when it comes to how coaches affect the quarterback situation.
Well, you have to make sure that you're putting your talent in the best position to succeed, and that's what I think you mean by that. They don't ask Purdy to do more than what Purdy can do, but they allow him to be a star in his role, if that makes sense.
Right.
And that's what I think a lot of coaches don't do. But they know he can get the ball out quick. They put him in position to get the ball in CMC hands. Look, you know where to go here. If it's not there, get it here. We're going to live to move to another play. So I think coaching is paramount in that. But like I said, they allow him to be a star in whatever role he is. So my hats off to that. Yeah, Purdy is he's a good one, but he went last in the draft for a reason. He's limited.
Thank you. I'm ready. Listen, the shoe will fall. The slipper will come off. at some point, and I got a eerie feeling it's gonna be when they least want it or need it to be.
And it could happen, but I just, like I said, I love what Shanahan can do. Like you said, we saw what he did with Matt Ryan. So we'll see. The problem with Shanahan has had, he keeps losing a lot of big leads in big time situations. That's where he has to be a closer. We've seen him front run a little bit, but we got to see him close.
Are who you taking? You taking your Cowboys this week? You taking?
I gotta wear my heart on the sleeve. You see what's over my shoulder? I'm going with my boys now. Whether we can do it or not, if you ask me what kind of fruit cups I'm putting on it, let's see. What's my least favorite fruit? Probably some little tangerine slices or something like that. We might put some of them on it. Won't be no pineapples and apples on it, but it is what it is.
All right, real quick. The last thing before we get out of here, who is the front runner for the MVP in the NFL right now?
Josh Allen staked his claim last Sunday.
Hold on. Stop. No hand.
He did, D-Will. I agree with Tua going.
Go back to the first game.
Go
back to that first game.
I hear you. I know. But you know, and I know what's going to happen. Now, speaking to you as who I would take and say, yeah, I would still have Tua with the slight edge because I think Tua's had the best season so far. But I'm going to tell you, him beating Tua head-to-head, his stock flew up. It was on national shows today. He's already back.
It was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The narrative is what I'm answering to, not who I think it is. But I'm telling you who I know right now they're saying it's Josh Allen.
And the crazy part about that is because I'm going Tua also. I think Tua right now is the front runner for the MVP. But I agree with you. They are pushing Josh Allen, the GWH. You have to break that acronym down yourself. Like, he is that, because just week one, did we not watch this guy implode in week one of the NFL football season? Are we gonna act like that game doesn't matter? Oh, we're gonna wipe that game out because now he beat Tua head-to-head after they had 70 points and he played. Dude, it was at home, right? Yeah. And let's not act like Stephon Diggs didn't have a whale of a game his damn self. He was. If I can throw it 7 and Stephon takes it 56, that's a different story. Yeah, it looks good on me, a 58-yard pass, but I ain't do nothing, right? So my thing is Josh Allen, how he's played through the first 3 games of the season, for him to have that big game against the against the Miami Dolphins is cool. However, I'm just not going to discredit the way he played in the first 3 games of the season because he had one good game and say he's a front runner now for the MVP. If that's the case, MVP is a 1-game scenario. If you go beat one game and have a good game against a good team, you're now an MVP. Because I'm just not going to get over how he looked. Listen, we were talking about Josh Allen not being who he was 2 weeks ago. Now, all of a sudden, all these pundits on these 4-letter networks are sitting here telling me that they're now the MVP front runner. Man, stop it. Y'all just sitting out there drawing narratives to get clicks. That because he damn sure ain't the front runner for the MVP.
Hey, isn't it funny how we saw going into the season how the running back position pay scale got devalued? And isn't it funny now how when we looking at the games, how other than CMC, there's really not a running back dominant kind of league like we used to seeing that we've seen in previous years.
Yeah,
does that fall into the script that or the narrative that they was pushing from the beginning of the season?
And that's where it's gonna be, because I can, like I said, I can take 2 running backs, that don't make that astronomical amount of money and get by with it. We see it. Look what's happening in Miami right now. You got Achane, who's a rookie, with a journeyman back there. Both of them are fast, but they split time. Look at the Cowboys. They got a guy who at Memphis was a slash wide receiver, best kick returner in the nation. He's their starting running back, and Tony Pollard, my homeboy. And then they got a guy that was an unrestricted free agent is the backup from South Carolina. So if you go around the league, yeah, you might have a rookie that's on a rookie deal or whatever, but the second guy is either an undrafted guy or a journeyman. There's really you it's maybe a handful where you got a legit top pay like Derek. I don't know why I can't remember this dude's name.
Henry.
Boy, Derrick Henry. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on Derrick Henry. But as a lead big time running back that's getting paid, it just doesn't happen around the NFL. And it's not gonna. I think it's gone now because it's such a passing league. Yeah, you can find guys that can run the football behind a decent offensive line. So as long as you can do that and keep that money down, I put my money in my line and we'll run behind them and protect my quarterback. That's where it's
the best situation is, and I'm gonna be honest, and Big H.O. can attest to it, is the Atlanta Falcons. Having Algier and Bijan Robinson on basically both of them rookie deals, first and second year players, and both of them are studs and dogs. Like, that's really what the NFL is going to, because they're not gonna have to pay one of them for another 3 years, right? They're not gonna have to pay them for another 3 years, so they're gonna be good to go at that position.
And then they'll franchise one of them and let one go and find another one to come in. That's what's gonna happen.
That's what's gonna happen. Whoever plays the best out of Bijan Robinson and Algier, that's who they're gonna franchise, and they're gonna get rid of the other.
Yep. All right, man. When you hear that music, you know what time it is. I'm gonna give my shout out. Shout out to D Will. Shout out to Bob for coming through. Man, we appreciate it. Appreciate you coming through, D Will. Great,
yes, sir.
Great points about the NBA and the Phoenix Suns. I love your viewpoint about that. Great talk about the unbelievable that we all believe that the SEC may disappear, may pull a Houdini act in the top four in the college football playoffs. I know the nation will be salivating if that happens. But This is the year it could possibly happen. And and Hancock keep pushing the Washington Huskies as his sleeper team.
I think they're the best out west.
Yeah. So my last question before we go, we ain't heard a inkling out of Arch Manning. What's going on in Texas?
Oh, he won't play. Quentin Ewers is turning himself into he's turning himself into an NFL quarterback. So we won't see Arch Manning.
Yeah, he won't play this year. He won't play this year.
Okay. Good deal. All right, man. Those are my shout outs. Go ahead, Han. What you got?
Hey, man, shout out to the crew, man, and everybody out there who tuned in, all the tenants. D. Will, you know I always enjoy you coming through, baby. Keep hanging out with your boys, man.
You already know it.
Get it together, baby. But just shout out to everybody out there, man. Tell everybody to come in, tune in with us.
Yes, sir. All right, D. Will, give me your shout out.
Hey, man, shout out to y'all, man. That's it, man. Like, y'all, we gonna keep rocking, man. We finna really turn this thing back up like it used to be, man. So shout out to y'all.
There you go. Yes, sir. Shout out to all the tenants, man, and all of the chats online, and make sure y'all catch us on YouTube and catch us on Facebook Live each and every Wednesday, 7 to 9 o'clock. Go to SRT Sports Talk Radio. We here, man. We here trying to make a difference, taking you around the world in sports, and you already know how we do it. All right, Han, let's roll.
Boogie! I'm already home, baby.
All right,
they call me coach because I teach you how to ball.
This your main man H.O. from Bankhead. R.I.P. Moms and Pops. R.I.P. BC. And if you love the show,
tell a friend.
And if you didn't,
man, I just hope we don't get blowed out this week. Come on, Cowboys.
All right, man. We out. Peace, man. We'll holler at y'all next week.
Later.
Peace.